Okay. Hi everyone, welcome to the session on continuous testing. In today's session we are going to discuss a few use cases of what are the real use cases in current world, and also we'll see how those problems, if you solve those problems without continuous testing, then what are the challenges. I'm getting a lot of noise. You can all go mute. Yeah, it's better now. So we'll discuss a few use cases of real world scenarios and how we are performing to validate those scenarios, and if continuous testing doesn't exist or couldn't have adapted, then how we will solve those and what are the challenges we'll face if we solve those problems without continuous testing or automation. And then we'll discuss what is continuous testing, how it fits to agile, then what are the advantages of continuous testing, what are the best practices, and then at last we'll have a demo end to end how to automate one website, and you write test cases using Python, and then you can integrate with Jenkins so that your CI/CD pipeline will trigger your automation test suits, and you will get a strategic result of your build, or you can say your product. So I have mentioned here few use cases, though there are a lot of use cases available, so I just put a few use cases which will be easily understood. So consider a e-commerce application like Amazon or Flipkart or whatever the e-commerce application you can consider. So there nowadays there are a lot of demanding from customer as well as, and there are a lot of competition in the market as well as. So who will boom, who will do how user friendly is their application, and how the most important is the high availability and scalability of your application. So they are mainly focusing on faster time to market, higher quality software, shorter development cycles, increased development frequencies, deployment frequencies. So these are basically main focus areas of nowadays in every e-commerce application. So what are the if we are going to achieve all these, so what are the main challenges the customer might face? So it is a consistently satisfy customer expectations. We have to think about customer satisfaction, how they will easily access and how they will not frustrate while accessing your application. Secondly, accessibility of your application, depending on wide variety of environments like mobile application, tab, I can say web application. So your application should be accessible from every environment, or you can say every device. So that will be added advantage. Compare prices and read reviews. So while you are purchasing something online in from the e-commerce application, so you probably look into the prices of your required application, price of your goods which you want to buy, and you probably need to compare those price with similar kind of product, and also you are going to read the review before buying any product. So if any of the customer feedback about the product is bad, then you are probably not going to buy that. uh, Obviously depends on the review rating as well. But think about, for your application, if somebody gives a bad comment, like your application is not accessible, or your application is hanging frequently, or the images which you are given for the product is not uploading or not visible properly. So those kind of problems are your application problem. It's not about the seller's problem, which sellers are selling or providing to the e-commerce websites. So again, when there is some sale or huge demand of any product, so there are a lot of logins, a lot of browsing of your application. So obviously the load of your application or APIs will increase at that time. So your application should be that much of scalable, so that it can handle that kind of scenario, that kind of situation. So this all needs to be catered, needs to be very precisely need to be looked into while you are delivering your application to the end customer. So for that, we are mainly focusing on this faster time to market, so that faster time to market and higher quality software, and this is more important, that software development cycle and increased development frequencies. So to achieve all these things, there is a proper quality validation is required before going that application or that product to the market. So if your quality validation is not proper and you have shortened the validation time, then obviously there are chances will left with defects in the application, and it will go to the customer, and at the end it is a highly impact on your brand value, right? So how this can be achieved, we'll discuss in the subsequent slides, how this can be achieved. Second scenario is like healthcare product. So nowadays, if you see in the operation room, or you can say in the operating room, doctors are using continuous streaming of the operation, the live streaming of the operation in the LED display. So there are some hospitals, and in different countries, they are also displaying the same live operation to the students or their colleagues to learn, or they can help remotely how that can be possible if there is some problem, or the students can learn how this kind of operation is feasible and how experienced doctors are doing. The point is, there are a lot of background behind this streaming, like there are a lot of hardware involved, there are a lot of cabling, the data streaming, there are a lot of high resolution cameras are available, which is go inside your body parts, and they will record each and everything, and the delay is very minimal. So what can be done in this scenario? So there are some industries working on healthcare products and this kind of products. So there we need to validate properly how the cable connectivity between the encoder decoder to your display system, or you can say that nowadays we have lot of cloud applications like software as a service, where we can easily monitor the every hardware status, like the encoder is working properly or not, the data which is coming from the camera is properly encoded and decoded, and that will transfer to the display screen. So those data are transferred through fiber cables, optical fiber cables, and also there are LAN connectivity between all these hardwares which is connected to a switch. So consider a scenario like we have given a feature like online streaming which is connected to a 4K display, and your the connectivity between the decoder and the display is a optical fiber. So one of the fiber is degrading its quality day by day, and uh, that is visible to the end customer, but while delivering those feature, the fiber quality feature, the validation was not proper. So think about the scenario, while doing your operation your fiber quality is getting degraded, it could be possible that that fiber will not transmit the data at all. So during the operation the doctor will not able to see the live streaming of the operation, and it might cause a life risk of that patient, as well as it is impacting a huge economy to your hospital. So there we need a proper validation of each and every interface, so which is very cumbersome if you do it manually, right? Third scenario we can say is a IoT product. So nowadays it is very boom that automobiles are doing industrial automobiles are doing automation. You can say that home automation, your automatic bathroom systems, your automatic mirror detection, AI/ML, all those things are booming nowadays. So think about a scenario like one apartment or a building has installed a IoT product which is your temperature detection, your room temperature detection. So it can be controlled through a mobile application, and as well as it is controlled through your web application. So during a day one person has changed the temperature of room temperature to 16 degrees Celsius, and he left for the office, and while in the office he got an alarm that your the room temperature, the heater is not behaving properly, or it is malfunctioning. So somehow he is not able to control it through its mobile application, so he logged in into the web application and tried to increase the temperature from 16 to 26 or 27 degrees Celsius. But during that time it is not operating properly and the web application is not working properly due to some different machine configuration what that user is using. So although the validation team has tested all the scenarios like web application and mobile application, but that particular environment was not been tested because due to infrastructure problem. They do not have that uh, environment available in the office premises, so they have ignored that environment validation, and they proceeded with the production. So that is simply a life risk of a person who is using that application, and to directly create a huge revenue impact as well as your brand value degradation. So all these things what I'm explaining here is mainly tends to your proper quality validation, which most of the industries are doing manually or automated way. So what are the solutions to these problems? Okay, so we can do all these things through manual testing. So it requires uh, so everything is achievable through manual testing, but what are the main drawbacks of this manual testing? Obviously nowadays not everything cannot be automated. 100% automation is not achievable, but we need to focus on those areas which are very time consuming, and we can easily automate those things so that it will save a lot of effort, time, as well as you can run it in a very spontaneous manner, so that you will get a clear idea about your product's stability and where your product is situated on present day. So these are the drawbacks I have listed for manual testing. Cannot say we can say that it's not drawbacks. These are mainly your challenges while we are doing manual testing. So it requires more time and more resources, sometimes both. So it could be possible that suppose we are working in agile environment, agile project, and your delivery is like in every 2 weeks. So for that you need to do your feature testing as well as regression testing, as well as bit load testing. So for that, to achieve within 10 working days, or you can say 14 days, you need a lot of resources as well as a lot of expertise as well to do it all through manually. But if you don't have resources, obviously the time span of your delivery will be increased. So this is the main challenge. Second thing is performance testing is impractical. So here what it means is like you have e-commerce application and you have exposed 2-3 APIs to the customer, and they are during your sale phase, huge sale phase. So those APIs are the most callable APIs by at least 1000 customers. So that kind of scenario, if you want to test in your lab environment manually, so that will require a huge effort and lot of people needs to be involved. And also if you want to track the result and log the result in a spreadsheet or in any test analyzer, so you need to put it manually, all the values, and you can draw a graph and then you can analyze it. So obviously that is a tedious task, and as well as there are chances that people might enter wrong values and you will get a wrong picture and result, and based on those results you will take a decision whether my application is able to handle that much load or not, and few mistakes can crash your application, or you will not get a confidence that if the result is valid or not. Less accuracy, yes, that is very crucial, because whatever you are doing manually is purely driven by human being. So there are highly chances that you can human can do mistakes while entering the values, while entering the results, and to mitigate those things you need to have a review process. So again 2-3 resources required to review the results, whether that is fine or not. If there is some problem, then you need to re-execute those things, and again you need to publish it. So that is also a time taking, and it will consume lot of resources as well as effort. Repetitive time taking process as well as tedious. Yes, if you have 5-6 members in your testing team and they are doing continuously the regression test, so think about the situation. Today I am happy to do this regression testing because I am new to this testing and I am learning it. Down the line 6 months I will realize that what I am doing the same thing, and it is frustrating to that member which is doing the same tedious job, monotonous job every day. So that is a problem to that person who is testing, and that is also a demotivating factor. So it will obviously reduce the productivity and it will highly impact your project delivery. Comparing large amount of data is impractical. Like I said, the streaming of your healthcare domain, right? Streaming of your live videos from the camera. So if you ever seen a 4K video, and if you try to do analyze it the frame by frame, so if you see the depending on the encoding FPS, frame rates per second, the video size is very large. If you even do a 3 minutes of recording, it will the space will be around in GBs. Size of the file is around in GBs. So what is that in those 3 GB files? So there are huge metadata, right? There are a lot of depending on your pixels, your FPS, your height, width. There are a lot of things in that video. So suppose I try to edit that video after the encoding, and I want to do some post processing depending on the GPS location, depending on the I can say there are a lot of metadata available for a video. So how will you ensure that when I'm encoding a 4K video in a camera while testing, all the metadata are intact? So that is very difficult to analyze the metadata manually, because if you ever seen the metadata using EXIF encoder, so it will be a huge number of metadata are available. So manually verification of those metadata is not possible at all. Either you will only analyze 2-3 parameters and you will leave it. So but for post processing you need all the metadata to be validated. Not suitable for large scale projects and time bounded projects. Yes. So if you have a project where 30 team members are required in the testing to deliver it within 2 weeks, so that is highly you can say that is highly costly. It is high cost. So we cannot afford 30 engineers in 2 weeks of time frame. Depending on the project cost. Obviously it depends on your revenue, how much you want to invest in that. But if you do most of the things automation, then that 30 resources can be reduced to 10, and those 20 resources can be used in any other project or product or feature. So how to mitigate or how to handle these things? So this comes the automation is the key to solve all these problems. Just a second. So so everything can be achievable through automation. Obviously it depends on your test scenario and your product, how much that is feasible to automate. So these are the points I have mentioned here, which is basically the challenges while you do test automation. So what is test automation? It is simply a process of doing automation of your manual test cases and publishing the result as how many that is pass and how many that is how many of test cases are failed. Okay. So based on those criteria, we will decide which feature is getting stable, which feature is not stable, and what we are going to deliver and what we are not going to deliver. But all these analysis, all these drawing of the pass fail criteria and feature wise, that should be done manually. Only the execution part is through automation. So what are the main challenges? So nowadays we are adopting, every industry is adopting the smart testing, which is your shift left. What is the meaning of that? A few years back we were adopting the testing like today we are doing the development, and after 3 months we will get the build for testing. But nowadays the testing itself is started from the development phase. So the same environment will be provided to the developer, and they will do the UT and API testing during the development itself, so that we'll get a confidence of your software. So there is no need to wait for 3 months to test it after the development has done before three months. So that is called as left shift. So we have shifted the testing part bit left, that we'll start it early and get it early stable. Automate at every level. So nowadays we are not only focusing on UI part. So obviously the UI is handled by APIs in the backend. So before proceeding to the UI testing, we need to do the API testing so that the functionality will not break. Once the API is fixed, implementation is done, it is not going to change. You are just going to use those APIs with depending on your project, the UI architecture, or depending on your functionality. And you can do the complete system validation of your application using automation, whether it is functional, non-functional, security, everything can be done through automation. Risk. While writing your test cases, we need to focus on both risk and breadth. What is risk? So you can see the scenario like a few years back, if you think about airline system, so they are only providing the booking system of their airlines. Just give me a second. So they are just providing booking of the air tickets, but nowadays they are also providing hotel booking options. They are also providing your taxi booking system. They are also providing online shopping. They are also providing booking a lounge in the airport. So although all these things are not driven by that airline itself, it is a third-party integration. So they are exposing their APIs to third-party, and they are ultimately taking a risk of providing or exposing their APIs to the third-party. So what is the risk here? The company, the organization which is providing the APIs to the third-party, they need to be highly focused on their security platform. Their APIs needs to be secure. Whatever the post or put APIs they are exposing to the customer, those needs to be highly secured from the point of pen testing, penetration testing. So those things needs to be handled properly. Otherwise, it is a very easy task to anybody. They can easily hack their source code, and they can easily manipulate everything. So as a tester, you need to think about those scenarios as well while you're writing the test cases. It's not about the Jira stories which is mentioned, or your whatever the test management agile management tool you are using. It is not about the backlog of story that I will map one-to-one test cases for that, and I'm not thinking beyond that. So you need to think about those risk factors while writing test cases, while automating those things. Also, you need to increase your coverage of test cases based on those risk criteria. Time feedback at each stage of the process cannot just be fast, it must be nearly instantaneous. So nowadays every organization, every e-commerce application, you can say, they are providing the production build every day, you can say that. So there is an analysis like the quickest deployment is in every 12 seconds. Yeah, that was the analysis has been catered. And if you think that in every 12 seconds we are doing a deployment, then how fast or how strong should be your quality validation? And it's quite impossible you will do a manual testing there, right? You should do automation testing, as well as there should be some mechanism that nobody will trigger that manually, right? So that there it comes the continuous testing. How you can achieve those manual triggering of test cases? You can avoid those manual triggering of test cases. It will automatically trigger when your developer has done the check-in of the build, and it will trigger your automation test suite. It will execute automatically and publish the result with a beautiful graph, and it will also send email notification. This is the test result of your current build. Isn't it better? Isn't it very exciting? So continuous testing is the process of executing automated tests as part of the software delivery pipeline to obtain feedback on the business risks associated with a software release candidate as rapidly as possible. So there are a lot of things can be dragged from this continuous testing. You will take a decision that whether my product is that much of mature or not, I can deliver that to the end customer or not. Developer will get a confidence that whatever day I did changes today, how my changes looks like, whether that is good or not. Does I broke something while I developing this feature? The regression suite will help him that it is no, your code is perfectly fine. There is no brokerage in the previous functionalities. So those things are the quick feedbacks to the management as well as to the team that yes, this software is now this much of mature. Now you can take a decision whether you are going to proceed it, or you want to enhance that feature more, or you want to drop that feature. So continuous testing is to assess and mitigate the business risks so that key stakeholders are able to take more informed, fact-based decisions. So while you are testing all these things, suppose management asks that yes, show me a trend that how your software is mature. So you can easily show the trend that yes, this is my testing result of the current software, and you can see that these many features are stable and these many features are not stable, and here I am today. So they can easily drag the business risk, which feature is more critical, which feature is not that much critical. We can do afterwards the development, we can drop that, or completely we can shift the release to 1 month. So that is totally a business risk can be identified at early stage. It is a process of testing early, testing often, testing everywhere, and automate. So as I said, the left shift concept, right? You can test it early. You can identify the defects in the initial stage itself. So you can test often, like performance. We are not going to test performance or load test in every build. We just created a task like in every 2 weeks release, I will execute the performance testing, or you can say that in every 10th build I want to do the performance testing. So that can be done. Testing everywhere, you can easily build your environment using cloud services, using your virtual instances, and you can easily automate using those environments, and you can test it early stage that where is your application situated, and you can automate. Yeah. So by continuous testing, software can be released at any time during development or upgrade in case of commercial demands. So mostly we are adapting DevOps in the agile projects, and that is the main concept of DevOps, that it will be adapted in agile projects. so that whenever I want to release my product to the customer, I can freeze the build and we can immediately release it. So for that, to gain that confidence, I need a continuous testing with some mechanism so that uh, it will be trusted and it will be give a confidence to the whole team that yes, if I want to deploy the build today to the production, yes, I'm okay to do that. So this is just a pictorial view of how continuous testing helps in agile. So if you see in this diagram, so sometimes uh, business requirement is business expectation is much more, but we are lagging behind with compromising the quality. And with build 3 you can see that sometimes we delivered much better beyond the expectations what business is required. Like there was a requirement of you give me a trend of the fiber cables with a graph. It will show only the values where it is critical or warning, but I am giving much more functionality. Like you can change the line graph to bar graph. You can refresh that graph in every 2 seconds and automatically. You can drag and drop that graph with auto resizable features. So although those features are not the actual requirement, those are the beautify of that application. But there the requirement is x, and now we have achieved x plus 3 more advanced things we have delivered for that feature. So although customer is happy to do that, but during that time you need to think about if those features are required at this stage. If not, then we can move to next feature and we can deliver something more, right? So if you go to build 6, again the expectation was more, but we lag behind. We compromised the quality because we do not have the proper environment to test. So we dropped those testing scope in this build 6. So ultimately we are now somehow missing the expectations with compromising the quality, or expectation is something and we are achieving more beyond the expectations. So there is no consistency in this. So to make this consistency, we can adopt continuous testing where you can easily get the speed. All the functionalities can be automated and that can be tested. Your performance also can be increased. Your productivity can be increased of your team. And as well as we are giving a stamp that my quality is excellent. And how this works actually? So here there is a pictorial, like developer build the code and they are continuously checking the builds. Okay, so here my automation testing is there in the pipeline and I am testing it with each and every build. Build 1 is success, build 2 is success, build 3 is not success, I have dropped it, and now the next build 4 is coming and I will test it. If everything is fine, then I will merge that code into the code of build 2, which is already delivered. So here what I am going to see here, that in the CI/CD pipeline I can achieve almost all kind of testing, like load testing, functional testing. You can say that I can do the UI based testing, I can do API testing, I can do load testing using proper tools like JMeter, Postman, service visualization. So those things can be easily achieved through continuous testing. And finally we'll get a good pictorial view of your testing, of your test suite, of your feature wise test cases, test runs, that how it looks like. So this graphical representation will help a lot to understand the management how your build is stable so far. And somehow by adopting this feature we will achieve some kind of balancing the expectation and the quality. Although it is not 100%, but yes, it is as good as what we have done previously. Without this, we are sometimes achieving, we are sometimes missing, but here 90% of things we will achieve with no compromise in the quality. Any questions so far?
Not yet.
Okay. So this I have already explained actually why you need continuous testing. So bit more glance. So previously we are mostly focusing on the UI part. The testing team mostly focusing on UI part, but the main challenge is UI is very dynamic. Unless your requirement is freezed, you cannot trust on this UI part. Every day your UI is getting changed. So while doing automation, if you on the day one you focus on the UI part, so it will be a lot of consumption of your effort time, and you need to update your test suits, your scripts on daily basis. So rather the 94% was focused on UI, and the API and unit testing was very less focused by the developer. But nowadays what organizations are adapting, more they are focusing on unit tests so that they can get a confidence on their functionality area, that yes, my functional part is working fine, my each individual code is working fine. Then the automation team can focus on API testing rather on UI testing. So once API is developed, it is fixed, very less chances that API is getting changed. So if you test the API and after down the line 3 months your UI is development is fixed, now you can automate the UI and you can easily get the functionality is working fine or not. So this is the main intent of the change in testing goal nowadays. So yes, I have already discussed what are the things we can cover in using continuous testing. So almost all functional, non-functional, system testing, load testing, performance testing, security, static code analysis, and also you can see these are the security things which you can achieve, right? GDPR and OWASP standard. All these things can be achieved through test automation and implementing those in adapting those in continuous testing. So these are a few examples of in my project I have done this. My team has done this. So we by adapting this continuous testing, we have benefited a lot of things. Like if you see in the healthcare domain, we have around 100 APIs we have automated, and which was required 3 hours when we do execution manually. Now it has been achieved to 15 minutes, and you can do it in every code check-in of the developer. And here there is a consumer electronics product. We have we did around 2000 functional cases automated, and in a quarter we saved around 99 man days. So this is also a very beneficial, and it has impacted a lot the project deliveries. Advantages of City, we have almost discussed everything. Now it's time to have a demo on that. So for this demo, I have written a small test framework using Python. So there I have I am browsing. I have written 3 test cases. One is browsing 3 different websites, and the test case is like if your website is opening fine with Chrome browser, then your test case will be passed. And in the third website, I want to enter some values, and if that is entered properly, then that will pass. So I will show you how that is working. One second. So this is the GitLab account where this framework I have placed the code. So this is the code, you can see. Let's see. Open this. So here I have used Python using Selenium. This is the code where I'm opening the Google URL. I'm opening the URL which is your lambdatest.com, and here I'm using one more website which is your demo site executeautomation.com. So this is one of the test suite, and I can show you the other one which is this one. This is a similar thing, okay, but here it is executing with options like headless. So I will explain why this is required. So first of all, we can see how this test case is working. Second. So here PyTest, I am using PyTest, and this is the command you need to execute. Okay, and here I'm going to use 5 tested 5. Okay, I think some problem. Okay, there is some spelling mistake. So it will open the browser. So it is printing that Google has been opened correctly. Now it is opening the lambdatest.com, and now it is opening your execute automation, and it will fill few things here. So it has printed the Google site. It has printed the heading of this site lambda test, and it has printed the heading of this site executeautomation.com. So here 3 test cases passed, and now if you see the result, this will publish a result like this. So how I did this actually. So for the UI testing, so for your practice point of view, you can use simply a Chrome extension which is called Catalan Recorder, which is a Selenium test generator. So you can add that to your Chrome browser, and from here after you entered the you installed it, it will show you this Catalan Recorder. Okay, so here you can give you can create your test suite, you can create, after creating the test suite, you will create your test cases. So by simply adding this, we'll create a test suite, and after the test suite has been created, you can click here and add new test cases. You can write these test cases. So here I have written some test cases. So after creating this test case, you just simply do a record. So before that, let me open the browser like google.com. Okay, so here I'm trying to add one more test case, which is your test case 3. Okay, and now I'm trying to record it. So here just refresh it. Okay, and here you can search. So if you see here, we have, you see these steps are already recorded. Open the browser, then submit, and hello. Now you can stop the recording. Okay, so now I'm just closing this, and you can play this file. It will show you this. Okay, so what is the benefit of this? You can easily export this piece of code into Python. So here there is an option called export, and here there are a lot of options. Whatever you want to export in your desired language, you can simply do C#, Java, JSON format. You can do Protector, you can do Python 2, you can Robot Framework, Ruby, WebDriver.io. So I have, since I have choose Python as my development language to write test cases, so simply use this, and you get all these test sets. So simply you need to copy these things. These are the main test cases. This is the main test case actually. So you can copy this, and you can add in your test case, which is available in my test repository. So you can easily clone this project into your local machine, and you can enhance by using your requirement those test cases. So if you see my I'm just closing it. If you see this test case, okay, test case 2. So if you do the export, so this is my test case 2. Okay, so I have, as it is copied this section to my code, which is this one. Okay, you can see this one from here, driver.get. So you can see driver.get. So this part is same. I have simply applied some sleep functionality to see that whether these all steps are working properly or not, so that you can easily see that is visible. Otherwise it is very instantaneous, you cannot track it whether this is filling properly or not. So this is the way how you can export this. So there are other things also available, like one more tool is available, which is Catalan Studio. So you can easily do record and play of your UI, but I think since 2019 May or June, Catalan Studio has was free, and now that is licensed. So for CI/CD implementation, integration of Catalan Studio to CI/CD pipeline, you need to purchase the license, and that is also very costly. So for your individual purpose, I would recommend to use this Catalan encoder recorder, so that you can easily do some basic hands-on of your writing test cases. Catalan Studio. So if you see here, Catalan Studio. So if your organization is buying your the license version, so it is very user friendly to use this tool. So if you see, this is the pricing has been introduced, and if you do download now, it will ask you to register first, and I think, there should be somewhere it was mentioned that how much price was there. So it is around $50 per month to buy the license of CI/CD pipeline, which is your Catalan runtime engine. Yes, this one. So it is yearly around 539 per year, and this is your like execute and schedule test CI/CD. So previously this was free, and you can easily do the it was easily done through CI/CD. Since it is paid, and I don't want you to buy it now, you can for the time being, for your hands-on practice, you can use this one, and you can generate the code, and you can write the framework, as well as you can use MyTest framework to enhance and implement your test cases here. So simply I'm just explaining a bit more. So these are the things. If you ever worked on Python, so it is very easy to understand this code. If not, I'm just explaining a bit like this is a tool, PyTest, which will help to write your unit test cases. So this is kind of unit test case only. So this is the every function should start with test, then only PyTest will recognize that this is my test case I need to execute. Okay, and this is a report which is needs to be imported to generate your test case test results in HTML format. Like I show you here, the HTML format I have given in this option while executing, right? It is HTML and HTML file. So it will generate the HTML file. So that's why this library is required. And for Selenium, you need to write all these things. WebDriver is the class where Selenium from WebDriver is the object we need to call it. And options, I will tell you why options is will be used. And as I use here the sleep, so this is the time library we need to you need to import. And this is a select file, because here I am using the select method to text drop down to select the drop down in the third test case. So these are the things which you need to include in your code, and this is a simple test case while you are executing this. So since if you are going to integrate through Jenkins, and this code, the plan is like this code needs to be pushed to your GitLab account, and I will configure the Jenkins with a job which will take my automation code repository from GitLab, and it will execute all the test cases and publish a result. So if you do it, if you configure it locally, so everything will work like what I have shown here, like the browser will open and everything will be done here. But if you want to do it remotely, like we did previously, Jenkins we have configured on AWS, so there we are not accessible to use the Chrome browser, right? So for that you need to use this headless option. So you need to execute those test cases with headless option, so that it will not open the browser, it will simply run all the test cases in backend, and it will publish the result if everything goes fine. So these are the two things you need to mention before your driver is getting called. So this is the option class where you need to create an object, and then you add your call this add argument method, where we are giving the option like headless, and then you can pass on the Chrome driver path, which I have placed here itself, Chrome driver.exe, in the same folder where your test framework is, the source code is present. So if you are locating somewhere else, you need to provide path here. From here it will pick the driver. Okay, then I am calling that this WebDriver should call my Chrome browser with this option, which is I have given here headless, and then executable path is like my Chrome driver. So open my Chrome browser with this driver and this option. This line says simply that. And after browsing my Chrome, this is the URL I am going to open it. So get URL. So this is the URL I am going to open it. And after opening this, I will get the title of that page. And then I have just given sleep 1 second to start the next test execution. So this is the same for all these test cases. Simply I have here open google.com, here I have open lambdatest.com, and here I have opened your execute demonstrate, and this code I have mentioned how you are going to generate it using Kaplan Recorder. Okay, so this is using your headless option, and if you go into the next test suite, which is without headless, which is this one. Okay, so I have just commented this. So in Python, if you write hash, so it will comment this, and everything is fine. The same, only these two lines needs to be commented, and here also you need to remove this your Chrome options. Whatever we have provided here, Chrome options equal to options, that we have removed here. So I'm just showing my local Jenkins, how it is configured. Okay, so you know how to configure Jenkins locally, right? By downloading the jar file, var file, and you can simply start the engine. So I have started this engine, and this is my local Jenkins. So you go to Jenkins, and here go to manage Jenkins. Okay, before going to this Jenkins part, I'm just trying to show you what are the dependencies to run this Python test. So if you see, I have mentioned here how will you get the Kaplan Recorder from this link, and this is my code repository, and you can easily configure the Jenkins, and these are the dependencies you need to install: Python 3, pip3, pytest, selenium, pytest HTML on your local machine. So make sure when you configure these in the AWS EC2 instance, so you need to also install these things in your EC2 instance machine. If it is Linux, Ubuntu 18.04, so you need to install accordingly the Linux environment. This I have mentioned here for Windows machine, which is my personal laptop. So you can get the Python 3 source code from here to download Python 3, and while you install it in the Windows machine, it will automatically install pip3 as well. So then you can then this line is not required, and you can install pip3 install pytest, pip3 install selenium, and pip3 install pytest-html from your command line. And now after this environment is ready for the Python, you can download the Chrome driver and place it in your local folder. But if you clone my source code, so it is not required, it is already there. If you look into this, So it is already there, the Chrome driver, and also the Firefox driver is also there. You can use this as well for Firefox. So since I have written for this code is only for Chrome driver, so if you want to modify and want to try with Firefox, you can use this driver as well. Okay, so no need to if you clone this, so no need to download this again. So after this has been done, so you need to write your test cases and run your test with this command, which I have shown just previously. So after doing the local changes, if you feel that everything is fine, then you can simply commit your changes to your GitLab repository. Okay, like here I have done this one, and then you can move to the Jenkins part. So here if you go to Jenkins, you go to first manage plugins, and you need to install 3 plugins which is mentioned here. Not 3, these are the 4 plugins like Git, JUnit. So these two are already by default they are coming. Just you need to cross check whether these two are installed or not, and these two are required to publish your result in HTML format, and this is also a test results analyzer which will show you the graphical presentation of your test suite, the subsequent executions. So here you can see, if I go to install, so here you can see Git. Here it is already there, my Git plugin. JUnit plugin is already installed. Test results analyzer, this is the test results analyzer plugin, and HTML publisher plugin. So these 4 plugins are installed on my Jenkins. So before configuring, creating your job, you just install these 4 plugins, and then you go to your create a project and enter your project, and just simply click on freestyle project. Okay, so here I have already created a project, and I can show you the configure path, configure items what I have done. So if you go below, you just give the source code management, select the Git, and here you are going to give your repository path. So here you can see this is my HTTPS path, so simply copy from here and you give here the path and select the credential. This is nothing but your GitLab credential. So if you go to add Jenkins, here you are going to add your credentials. So these are global credentials. You can simply mention your username, like your with which username you are accessing your GitLab. So you just mention here, give the password here, and here give a meaningful ID so that it can be tracked when you see which credential I have defined, and that can be used further. And just give a small description like to access GitLab source code. Here I have given GitLab ID and simply add it. So after we add it, in the drop down this will show where mine is showing. So previously without adding this it was showing only none. So while you adding this, after adding it will show you this. So I think it's already been covered by delivering the GitLab integration with Jenkins. So this is something similar to that, and after that you are going to say in the build section how your test execution will be done. So since my local Jenkins is on Windows, so I have selected this execute Windows batch command. So if you are using Linux, so you can use the execute shell command. So this is the simply the same command which I have mentioned here. This is the same command, python-m pytest cappuccino HTML, and this is the JUnit plugin which we have installed. So this XML file will help to show you the graphical presentation of your test suite execution. Okay, so the test result analyzer will show you the history of your all the executions, and this will also show you a upfront graph. So in Python there is an option JUnit XML, and you can generate your XML file in the execution folder. Okay, so after that, since you have installed the HTML publisher and also the JUnit result, so you just simply select in post build action that I want a result to be published in HTML format, and also I want to show the JUnit result as well in the desktop. So here we just mention the report name. You can give star.html as well. Otherwise you can give the same report file name which is you are mentioning here. Okay, and nothing to do. And here also in the JUnit test result you just give star.xml. So then you save and apply. It is all set now. So let me execute that from this. So before that I just wanted to check this is headless or not. Yes, this is headless. So test suite 5 I'm going to execute from here. So test framework demo, and I'm going to here from build now. So here you can see it is gathering the information. So it has collected 3 items. You can see it is opening a browser which is your Google. Now it will open the next browser which is your lambdatest.com. So it has printed this, and now it is your execute automation Selenium test suite, and it will enter the required parameters. So here I am just mentioning these 3 test cases because this is my requirement. So while you are doing your project or doing your hands-on, you just select the websites and test cases what you are going to do, and you can simply add in this file. So this is now success. As you see, it's finished and 3 test cases has been passed. Now you go to your framework, and here you can see HTML report. So you can click on this, and it will show you the nice summary of the test cases which has been executed, 3 passed. This is the test cases name. Open Google URL, open your Lambda test URL, and test your execute automation URL. So now you can see this is the JUnit result. So this is the current execution status. So it is showing that 3 pass, and this is my build 15 execution, and this is your build 16 execution. 15 and 16, these 2 are mentioned here. Okay, 15 3 pass, 16 3 pass. And if you see this the test result analyzer, you can see the trend of kind of this which I was showing you in the PPT, like this one, this graphical presentation. Now you are able to achieve through this set of plugins in Jenkins. Okay, so it is showing you all the build status, build number 8, build number 9, and you can see this is your the build status from, and latest is here in this one. And if you go to pass, so it will show you the test suite 5, 34 seconds it took and 3 pass. If you go here, it is showing you what are the test cases, and if I go to here, this is from PyTest, it has been executed. So this is a detailed summary of your test results. Okay, so now this is I have executed by opening the browser. So if I want to use the next one, like without the browser, so that will help me to execute in the AWS instance where I have installed the Jenkins. So let me see if this works in the local Jenkins or not. So with the headless, so I can just simply write here test suite 4. Let me reconfirm that test suite 4 should be headless. Test suite 4 here is with headless, yes, and here I can use test suite 4 and this is your test suite 4, and nothing need to do here. You just need to change the report and just save. And now I'm going to execute it here with headless option. So here it will not open any browser, it will simply execute in the backend. It is not opening any browser, it is simply executing and just mentioning the page title here. Here it is taking bit time because I have given the sleep 1 second. See here, this also executed and this is passed now. Okay, it is success. We go to test framework and now it is saying build 17, 3 pass, and here you can see 17 result also come, and if you go to here also I am getting a HTML report where I am seeing this pass, and there should be some, yes, this is the build number 17, execution number. So this is we did in local Jenkins machine. Now when you when you try to use through CI/CD pipeline, so if you go into our previous class and what we are doing also in the final project, you are doing everything on AWS, right? So how we will achieve this on the AWS? So here there is one of my instance where I have already installed Jenkins. So you know how to install Jenkins on AWS EC2. So I'm simply logging into that machine. Let's see. Yes, Jenkins is working. You can simply see it's rate 0. And then password is this. So this is the same. This is the process is almost same. Only the thing is this machine is a Linux machine. So Ubuntu machine. So here for Ubuntu you just need to change the Chrome driver because the installed in the local machine which we have used was for Windows. So for that also I have already downloaded this Chrome driver for Linux, and if you clone my project, so you no need to worry about this Chrome driver for Linux Ubuntu. So that is still also there. So the test suite is 6. This is the test suite where I am going to mention here. This is my path of the Chrome driver for Linux. Okay, and here I am bound to use headless because in the EC2 instance I am not able to access my Chrome browser. Okay, so everything is same, just whatever you need you have configured in your Windows machine, like the Python, Selenium, PyTest, all those things which we discussed here. These things, this all needs to be configured in your EC2 instance as well. So there is another way also I can provide, but it is not available now. I can generate a requirement.txt file, and you can run that requirement.txt in your EC2 instance, and it will automatically set everything in your the environment will be set automatically. Let me see if I can provide that. Otherwise you can simply follow how to install these things in your in Ubuntu machine. So here you can mention, or simply you can include those commands while you are configuring your job. Like if you go here, here while you are giving this execute command. So see here I have given one command which is the Chrome driver was not in executable, was not having executable right. So you also need to mention, you also need to change the file to executable, so that it will at the runtime it will execute this driver. So you can directly include commands here as well when you say execute shell, like p3 install pytest, p3 install html, or before executing this you can simply here you can simply execute the command.txt by going into your repository. It's like cd dot jenkins. Okay, after you clone this project you will get the project access, and you can simply go and run the requirement.txt there, or simply you can execute the requirement.txt execution command here as well. So it will set environment and just save and build. Now it will ready all the required environment. So here everything is same. You can see Git, the same thing we have configured in the local. Here we are giving the master branch to build. Here you can see build, here the same command. Just make sure before executing your in the machine you just check the Python version which is being installed, and that version you need to mention here. So in my local it was 3.7, but it is, since the path is already set, so I have not mentioned here while I was executing. I simply written the Python, but here if you have multiple Python then you need to mention explicitly which Python version to use. So this code is supported for Python 3 and above, 3.5 and above, so you just need to install 3.6, 3.7 on your Ubuntu machine. Okay, and then everything is same. This test report, this XML file, everything is same. And you can see we go to the manage Jenkins and go to plugin manager, and here if I give the installed one, here I can see Git which is already there, Git plugin, then HTML publisher. I've installed this, test results analyzer, Selenium and JUnit. These 4 plugins are also here. So let me just show you how this is being how this will so here I am going to do build now. Let's see if it works or not. See, please entering the Google. Now it is executing the next test case. So it could be possible that your Jenkins machine which we are taking is T2 micro, it might perform bit slow depending on your network bandwidth, as well as how many browsers you have opened, how many tabs you have opened in your Chrome browser. So while doing this execution from Jenkins, just make sure you should open very limited browsers in your Chrome, so that the machine will be very less overloaded, so that your test cases will be smoothly executed, because we are using T2 micro, the machine here. And also depends on your machine's RAM, how big is your RAM, how large, that will also impact. So it has executed 2 test cases. Now it is waiting for the third one, since we have given 1 second's delay. So let's wait for a few seconds. I guess it should work. It could be quite possible that it got stuck due to this process overloading. Let's see. Can do here. Yes, it's working. Here it's working. Oh. Okay. I think it got stuck somewhere. Let me see. Just I'm in. Just I'm say stop the save, and I will re log into my EC2 instance. Okay. Yes, this is running, and somehow this got stuck. So I need to restart my machine, then I guess it will start. Might be some issue, might be we can abort it. Yes. Okay, we can just give a reboot of this machine. This connection gets closed, this should also closed, and it showed the. Okay, so here I need to close all the browsers, and then we need to see This is the problem I was talking about. Sometimes this happens if your machine is bit loaded. See, close it. Okay, let's restart my Chrome browser. Stop. Stop. It's now stopped. Any questions so far while this is being restarted?
Yes, one little question, I think. You said that you were working in Ubuntu image instance, but I think I am working in a Linux instance. Do you think it will work the same? It will be the same?
Yeah. You're using which instance? Can you tell me? Just
in Linux. I think it's
Red Hat. You are working on Red Hat.
I think so, but it was one of the first options.
Amazon Linux, you are saying, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it will work like in the same way. Just you need to check the commands. Actually, it's sudo apt upgrade. You need to give the yum command here. So you just need to Google it. That how to install Python in this for this image. So it will show the commands, and everything will work fine. So if you face any issue, just let me know in the Slack. I will help you out. So for the testing purpose, you can first try with this one, because this training which I have given for on this, you can try first on this. You just take this instance and you can configure it easily. I can show you to hardly take 2-3 hours to do everything what I have done here. So if you face any issue here, because why I'm saying to use this one, because whatever the training I have given, it will be easy to understand if you go through that same process. Then we can jump into this one and do the R&D.
Okay. And
okay.
Yeah. And there is also I didn't understand well. I think I see that you installed your libraries, Python libraries, but I am not sure if we have to install all the libraries that maybe our use cases will be using.
Yeah, those are actually whatever functionality you are going to use in your code, right? In your
yes,
only those you need to install it. Since I have, let me show you. So if you look into this, my screen is visible, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So if you see this, this is the test tool, PyTest, where which you want to use in this framework. Because if you use this, it will be easy to generate these reports, actually HTML report, XML report, all those things. So this will be easy to automate your test cases using Python. So that's why I have included these two libraries. Okay. And of course, if you do web automation, you need to use Selenium here. I have used the combination Python Selenium. If you want to use something else, other tool, you can develop your own framework as well. So your doubt is like these many libraries is required or not, right?
Uh, More or less, I say that maybe in this test case, for example, I will need another library additional to this framework. Maybe another library could be pandas or scikit-learn. Just examples, and I will need to install those also in the Jenkins.
Yes, whatever the libraries you no need to install in Jenkins, because this is a test tool, PyTest, and these are the supporting for PyTest. You need to install there, but no need to install like this WebDriver. You no need to install. You need to install Selenium.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's not required every library you need to, because there are some inbuilt libraries of Python where you no need to, like this time, right? This is inbuilt library of Python. You need to install it here in the Jenkins. The import OS, this is also inbuilt library. You don't need to install. Only the external things like Selenium, Python, PyTest, like this. And if you want to use some other functionality depending on your test case, so you just see if that doesn't work, then we need to simply Google it. We'll get the answers, or you can just ping me in the Slack. I will happy to help you on that. Okay. I have just simply created a framework so that it will be easy for all of you to enhance it. And if you have your own framework and your own website, that is also fine. You can simply integrate in your Jenkins and see if everything works fine or not. So in the Jenkins, like JUnit and Test Result Analyzer, those are universal plugins. It's not specific to Python. It simply accepts your JUnit file and XML files. Whatever test framework you are going to use, you simply generate a XML file of your test report. It will show you your test result graph. It is not dependent on Python.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Let me see if we can re-execute. SSH null. Okay, here Java-jar. Let's wait for a few seconds to start the Jenkins. Just started now. Okay. Scale is completely failed. Yes, you can see the loading. What is loading here? Build now. See if this time it should pass or fail. Google. Oh, again it's stuck, I guess. Yes, this time it got passed. 3 test cases, and if you go here, you can see this report. Okay, since this was not successfully executed, we terminated this, so it is not visible. After 11 it is showing 13, and if you go to result analyzer, you can see the complete test suite. This pass, fail, skip total. This is the percentage of this one. So since it is showing skip, because here these test cases are not executed properly. If you see, there is some problem here. Why I don't know why it is showing. Okay, skip build details. Okay, 40% build details are not mentioned here. That's why it is not showing like this. Okay, so I think that's it from the demo point of view.